Schönen guten Tag. Das war schon ein sehr erfreulicher Fotocall. Ich hoffe, Sie haben das mitbekommen. Erstmal frohes neues Jahr. Herzlich willkommen im Namen von Sony Pictures Germany zur Pressekonferenz anlässlich der Deutschlandpremiere eines fantastischen Films Django Unchained. Schön, dass Sie alle gekommen sind und dass wir gemeinsam in ein richtig spannendes Kinojahr starten. Der Film läuft ja schon sehr erfolgreich in den USA, hat 5 Golden Globe Nominierungen, morgen gibt's die BAFTAs, Donnerstag die Oscar-Nominierung, also da kommt noch eine ganze Menge dazu, freuen wir uns drauf. Und jetzt vielleicht zum Ablauf der Pressekonferenz noch so ein paar Kleinigkeiten, Sie kennen das sicherlich, bitte die Handys ausschalten, dass die nicht stören zwischendurch. Wenn Sie eine Frage haben, und ich bin mir sicher, Sie haben alle ganz viele Fragen, einmal kurz melden. Ich versuche auch alle dran zu nehmen. Wir haben hier an der Seite bezaubernde Damen mit Mikrofon. Ich werde die dann zu Ihnen leiten und dirigieren und dann stehen Sie kurz auf und stellen Ihre Frage. Bitte eine Frage pro Journalist, weil wir uns sicher sind, dass Sie alle ganz, ganz viele Fragen haben, damit auch jeder drankommt und eine Frage stellen kann. So, und jetzt geht's los. Wir haben nämlich unfassbar tolle Stars heute hier in Berlin zur Deutschlandpremiere von Django Unchained und wir starten gleich mit einer ganz bezaubernden, unfassbar talentierten Frau und das ist Kerry Washington. Sie spielt Broomhilda. Herzlich willkommen. Welcome. Weiter geht es mit Jamie Foxx als Django. Dr. King Schulz wird gespielt von Christoph Waltz. Samuel Jackson ist Steven. Und last but not least, er ist der Drehbuchautor, Regisseur und Produzent, the one and only Quentin Tarantino. Please take a seat. Happy New Year and welcome to Germany. It's great to have you here. And I think we're going to start straight away with questions from the floor, and the gentleman over there has a question.
Hello, my name.
Could you stand up, please?
Of course. Hello, congratulations to the fantastic film. I love it a lot. I also like the original version of Django with Franco Nero a lot, but this film was also fantastic. My name is Mark Harapetian, editor of the film magazine Spirit, The Smile and the Storm. And I know just one question, but I have 2 questions to different persons. The first question is to Mr. Quentin Tarantino. In some scenes, your film reminds me a lot to Inglourious Bastards, but I like it much more. And did you wanted to show that this is the same bad thing what the white American people did to the black American people, like the Nazis did to the Jewish people? And the second question is to...
Let's stick to one and let Quentin answer.
Thank you.
We can continue. Cool.
One's good. Actually, the short answer to that question is yes. As far as I'm concerned, especially as a quarter Cherokee Indian, America is responsible for 2 Holocausts. In its country. The eradication of the indigenous Indians and the slavery that they put African Americans, Africans at the time, and Jamaicans and West Indians during the slave trade for 245 years. And one of the things I wanted to do is, I wasn't trying to tell a Schindler's List movie. I was trying to tell an exciting adventure story that you could get caught up in. But inside of that, I wanted it to take place within the backdrop of slavery, and when it came, and I wanted to mix it up so you could actually see the brutality that was perpetrated by Americans on black slaves. But frankly, to put the truth of the reality is, it was about 1,000 times worse than what I showed. I couldn't show how bad it was, or the movie would be unwatchable.
And the second one?
The second question is to Mr. Christoph Waltz. Can I ask in German or should I ask in English? It's no problem.
Deutsch, wunderbar.
Okay. Also auch Gratulation zu Ihrer Rolle. Das ist eigentlich, finde ich, der beste Part, den Sie jemals gespielt haben. Und ich kenne Sie wirklich von Anfängen Ihrer Karriere, vom Derrick und so weiter und so fort. Ich habe mal gelesen, dass Sie ein großer Bewunderer von Oskar Werner sind. Ich schreibe eine Biografie über ihn und ich würde gerne mal wissen, ob Sie ihm begegnet sind noch zu Lebzeiten und ob er Sie beeinflusst hat und was Sie so toll an ihm finden.
Oscar Werner was an Austrian actor, and he was my hero, one of my heroes. Das war nur eine kurze Erklärung, damit ihr auch wissen, wovon wir reden. Nein, ich bin Oscar Werner nie begegnet. Ich habe ihn nur im Film gesehen, leider. Ich habe einen Rezitationsabend im Wiener Konzerthaus von ihm gehört, wo er Balladen von Goethe und Schiller vorgetragen hat. Und was mir an ihm gefällt, da können wir uns mal eine Woche lang treffen, dann werde ich Ihnen das im Detail auseinandersetzen.
More questions. The lady over there in the back.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aslan. Nice to see you all. I pretty much have a question to everybody. One of the main motives in this movie, or if not the main motive that Django has, is love, pretty much. Quentin, you've been working on this for a decade. Is this something that you intended from the get-go, or is it something that developed the love element?
God, that's a really extremely good question. No, it wasn't. Frankly, to tell you the truth, when I came up with the idea before, it was far more of a revenge situation. I wanted Django to have a complete scorch the earth policy as far as that was concerned. But that was before I actually had a story. That was just an idea. And my ideas just kind of sit a little bit in the incubator, just waiting for the right time to take them out. And when this one did its intellectual ding, and I was ready to take it out, I realized that wasn't enough. I actually needed Django to have something more complex. I needed to have Django have something more filled with a heart. He needed to have something, dare I say, more noble. Even though I feel a slave killing his master is a noble endeavor, but it needed to be more than just bloodthirstiness. And then I thought of the idea of, if you imagine what it would be like to be on a plantation and to be a slave, that's hard to imagine. But imagine it. Then imagine being taken out of it. Imagine being given clothes, to be given a self-respect as a man, and to literally drop those chains, take that coat off completely. Literally, you've been taken by your hand from hell, and you now live in a whole other place. And it's completely different. And then imagine going back to that by your own choice to take your woman and save her from it, and whatever the consequences. That, I thought, would be a good story. That would be actually worth telling.
Du hattest noch eine Frage an die anderen, oder das war's? Okay. Lady in the front row.
Morgan.
For the German audience, it was pleasant to see a bunch of German actors in your last movie, and now Christoph again. So please tell us about your casting process, German actors and in general.
Well, it's one of the things that, frankly, has been one of the nice, lovely benefits of my career. Since I branched off from doing kind of, say, American-style gangster movies, is the fact that my repertory company of actors has grown larger and larger with actors from all over the world. I worked with, in Kill Bill, I worked with some of the best Japanese actors that there are. And literally, it's even like sitting around that table around Lucy Liu, that's an all-star cast in Japan. And the same thing with both the French actors and the German actors that I worked with in Inglourious Bastards. So to be able to work outside of my own country with these wonderful thespians, it's my work has grown because of it. My vision has grown because of it. There is an aspect in America that, for the most part, and I'm sure that it's the same in all the other countries' industries, that you're more or less given a list of about 45 people that are pretty much the people for these next 5 years. that you pretty much choose from. Now, I obviously break that list by casting people who aren't on the list. I have a much longer list. And the only thing you need to be, there's only 2 requisites to be on my list. You don't have to be hot. You don't have to have done a big movie. You don't have to be American. You have to be 2 things. I have to like you, and you have to be alive.
Kerry, I have a question. A lot of the pain that Broomhilda has to endure was shot on historic grounds where slaves have been tortured and killed. How difficult was it for you to cope with this sort of situation?
It's a great question. We were shooting in a place called Evergreen Plantation for a large portion of the film, which was, and it is an archaeological site that was a working plantation in the South. And it actually, I think, really served us all creatively to be in that spot because it was sacred ground. So when we were there, you really had a sense of the level of responsibility that we had to tell the story in as honest a way possible, honest emotionally. There's a story that Sam has told where in the scene where Broomhilda is receiving lashes, that when the sound of the whip first cracked through the woods, everything stopped. Before that there were birds chirping and crickets and butterflies and there was the woods, the nature, but when everything heard that sound, all of nature stopped, almost like, oh God, please don't send us back there 200 years ago. Don't put us back, don't put us back in that awful memory. So that was the sense you had a lot. We would be in the middle of shooting a scene and find shackles in the middle of a cornfield, so it was very profound and helpful.
With the later moments.
People.
What?
Is that her name, Coco? The dresser?
Oh yeah, Bijou. One of the women in our wardrobe department. Her family was actually descended. She was from Louisiana, where we were shooting, and her family, she was descended from a family of slaves who were owned on that very plantation, and it was a German family. So it felt like this very extreme connection to Broomhilda. Yeah.
Were the lighter moments learning to speak German with Christoph then?
Well, I did when we first started preparation. There was a lot about the role that scared me psychologically and emotionally as an actor, but I knew I had to get out of bed every day to learn how to ride a horse so that when there were explosions and gunshots I could make my horse stand still, and I knew that I had to learn the German, which I had no idea how I was going to do, but I think I have arguably the sexiest, coolest German tutor around. So that was helpful.
Samuel, what did you think when Quentin approached you and didn't give you the part of Django, but Stephen instead?
I didn't have a lot of thought about it. I said what I had to say about it when I read it and said, oh, so you waited 15 years to write this and I'm too old to do it. But by the time I read Stephen, I was convinced that once again he found some secret gem that I had an opportunity to go inside and create a character that would be, I guess, totally memorable as well as despicable, as Quentin and I described him, the most despicable Negro in cinematic history. And that's a challenge that, you need to meet, and you need to meet head on. And I embraced it, and I enjoyed it, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to have presented a character like that to the viewing public.
Thank you. Jamie, what was it like for you? Because Kerry has just been talking about, the historic events that happening on the set, or basically where you shot. How did you feel, walking on those grounds and shooting that movie?
For us, it was, for everybody, it was an amazing place to be. And then finding out in the city of New Orleans where we shot, a lot of people didn't even know that there were plantations in New Orleans, because that's sort of been kept from us because it is such a terrible place. I would tell people I'm going to the plantation. Where's that? It's right here in the city. But when we went there, I actually took my 2 daughters there, my 18-year-old who, checked out all the history and everything like that, and my 4-year-old, she was just, just playing around, just like I can imagine like little young slave children. Just for them, that was just the way it was. But I think the day that was the most important, we talk about it all the time, was when Kerry had to receive those lashes. And Quentin does a great thing where he plays music in between scenes. And so that day we asked for a piece of religious music. Fred Hammond, if you get a chance to go check this piece of music out, and it's called No Weapons Formed Against Me Shall Prosper. And it was no weapons formed against me shall prosper. It won't work. And while she was receiving those lashes, you saw a lady who had never been on a set before, who was an extra. Her hands went up like she was, being touched by something. And she grabbed the child that she was with and was holding him and crying, and everybody was crying. And I watched him as he was filming, the big bad Tarantino, who's the tough guy. I saw water in his eyepiece, and we got up and we embraced each other. So when moments like that happen, that makes the project that you're working on really worthwhile. And I think now that people are getting a chance to see, especially Black Americans, which, we all hope that they would really, really embrace it. And when they watch this movie, they're entertained. But when moments like that come up, they get a chance to really realize how far we've come. And I like to call it the evolution of freedom, where we started out as slaves, and now we have an African-American president and President Obama. So there was a lot of emotions going on.
Thank you. Questions? The lady over there in the fourth row. Einmal ganz kurz aufs Mikrofon warten.
I have a question to Christoph Waltz, and please allow me to ask it in German. I'm from DWTV, International German Television. Christoph Waltz, ich würde gerne wissen, Sie haben nach den Inglourious Basterds einige Monate später gesagt, es wäre ein großes Vergnügen, wieder mit Quentin Tarantino zu arbeiten, ein großer Wunsch, der ist in Erfüllung gegangen. Ich hätte gerne gewusst, wie war Ihre Zusammenarbeit und verdanken Sie Quentin Tarantino Ihre internationale Karriere?
Um mich Quentins Formulierung anzuschließen, ja. Beides.
Yes.
Gut. Nein, ich meine, Sie haben schon gesagt, es war ein Wunsch und ein Vergnügen und es kann nicht viel besser werden als das. Also, und wenn mit dem, was Sie tun, schon irgendwie der Gipfel des Vergnügens erreicht ist, das dann noch mit jemandem zu machen, der ein wirklich wichtiger Freund geworden ist, ich meine, was will man da noch mehr sagen?
See, Kerry can translate everything. She's just been translating it to me. Yeah. Question over here, second row.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I'm from Berlin, German-Turkish City magazine, Merhaba. Thank you for the movie. It's very brilliant. I liked it. My question is to Christoph Waltz. Did you enjoy your part as Dr. Schultz? How funny was it for you to play? Thank you.
Wie sieht's denn aus? Ich meine, sieht das so aus, als hätte ich kein Vergnügen dabei gehabt. Ja, das ist, ich meine, Sie erlauben mir, das ein bisschen in Frage zu stellen, dass das nötig ist, aber zu betonen, wie gesagt, also wenn einem Dinge dieser Art schon auf einem silbernen Teller präsentiert werden, dann nicht auch vor Freude und Dankbarkeit eigentlich fast in die Knie zu gehen, wäre ja also Hybrid bis zur Unerträglichkeit.
Question over here, and then we move over to the left side.
Hi there, this is Emmanuel from Radio Syndication in Munich. This is kind of a follow-up question, but for Mr. Jackson and Mr. Waltz. Are you feeling like a dirty competition is coming up now between you guys, being the most favorite, frequent Tarantino-used cult actor?
Welchen Wettbewerb meinen Sie jetzt genau? Im Großsein, im Weißsein?
Im von den Fans geliebt werden.
Im Berühmtwerden? In getting competition and getting famous.
Oh no, I have 2.1 million Twitter followers. I mean,
hat gewonnen. Question over there, all the way in the back. Gentleman there, standing up.
Yes, I'm from a Fuldaer Zeitung. It's a very old question to Italo-Western. And therefore I wanted to ask Christoph Waltz, was hat Sie fasziniert, in einem Italo-Western mitzuspielen? Weil der hatte ja also in den letzten Jahren so mit Bud Spencer und so weiter so nicht mehr den besten Ruf in Deutschland oder in Europa.
Ich habe Sie nicht ganz gehört.
Was war die Faszination, in diesem Italo-Western mitzuspielen? Also überhaupt einen Italo-Western zu machen, das hätte ich...
Naja, ich meine, die Faszination kommt nicht vom Genre, die Faszination kommt vom tatsächlichen Buch, das vor einem liegt. Das Genre ist eine Begleiterscheinung und die Faszination des Buches, das vor mir lag, kam natürlich wieder von ihm. Also ich meine, es fängt alles bei ihm an und hört alles bei ihm auf. Everything starts with you, everything ends with you.
All the way in the back, the gentleman with the leather jacket.
Hi, I'm Florian Simbeck from AXN Germany. Thank you, Quentin, for making another great movie. We're all very grateful. And I have a question for Samuel L. Jackson. I want to know how does it feel to always have been the man himself representing the black community and the black people, and now all of a sudden playing somebody who's suppressing and who's despicable and abusing his own race? Has that been a very difficult role for you? And were you afraid of the
fallout?
For what the community would
feedback,
say?
Fallout?
The feedback, yeah, thank you very much.
Not at all. To tell you the truth, the major thing I had to do was make sure I could be as despicable and as honest as I possibly could be, because that particular audience has a real gauge for honesty and what that means. To be a collaborator on that level is, I guess, troubling in a sense, but I get past those things once I find out who the character is and delve into the honesty of what he feels, how he feels about the people around him, how he feels about the way he lives. And I have an obligation to Quentin to tell the truth. I have an obligation to the other actors to make sure I give them something to play against that is honest, real, and stimulates them to do something that is as honest and real as I'm hoping I'm doing. So it's a great joy for me to embody a villain like that.
You know, let me add one thing to that. One thing that's happened in Sam's career that's, I'm sure you can come up with about like 8 different instances where Sam is such a fantastic actor, and it's, you know, there's a little bit of truth in the fact that a lot of the best parts are the villainous roles, you know, and stuff. And constantly, Sam has read these scripts, and he's called up the director, and even directors he's worked with before. Hey, I want to play this guy, this villain. I want to play this guy. And they go, oh no, you can't play the villain. That could be considered racist. Well, we can't have the black guy do that. Our movie could be considered racist if that was the case. Well, that's some really fucked up handcuffs to put on a great actor. Yeah. No one says that about anybody else. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in too. But Samuel Jackson is such a star in our community. Mm-hmm. Like, I was telling him, I said, man, listen, people are going to be overjoyed to see you play this character. And I mean, black folk from Mississippi, from Alabama was calling about his performance. They realized it is a performance. Yes, there are despicable things about his character that we don't like, but it's still Samuel Jackson. And what was brilliant, as some people like will.i.am and Kanye West, Louis Farrakhan, who've seen the movie 4 times, if you watch the brilliance of his character, which he and Quentin came up with, he's writing checks at the beginning of the movie. So he's showing you that there is sort of an undercover to Stephen's character. And then it's the whole, you know, shit, who is this on the nag and all that, you know, that whole thing. But when it really came down to it, you saw a whole different person who he was embodying, which as an actor, that's brilliant. And so that's what people are really, cheering about.
You know, one of the things that actually my editor brought up, that he said one of his actually favorite moments in the movie is just the shot of Sam Jackson writing checks, because it just highlights, as if it wasn't already clear, Calvin Candy doesn't do jack shit. He's completely useless in Candyland.
the lady in the third row, and then we move over to the left side, right here, with the scarf.
Hi, I'm Julianne from Reuters. I was just wondering, watching Inglourious Bastards, we all had lots of references on movies about Nazi Germany. There's about a gazillion of them. If you research movies on slavery, there's not all that many around, or movies that look at it from a black perspective.
There was nothing to watch.
Exactly. Why is that? It's a huge subject. Why are there no more movies about that?
Well, we're doing our best ourselves here, and Steve McQueen's throwing his hat in the ring to do it as well. Well, the reason why is because America is afraid of it. They don't want to deal with it, and frankly, it's been a situation that its citizens don't want to really deal with it, white or black, and and it actually must sound strange in Germany, because y'all have been forced to deal with your nation's shame again and again and again and again ad nauseum. And most countries are forced to deal with the sins of their past. America has, for the most, and oftentimes, other countries have made those countries deal with it. America has managed to ice skate over it as time went on. I mean, even in school, you're taught about slavery. Maybe you're taught. I was taught about Harriet Tubman. I was taught about John Brown. I was actually taught a little bit in depth because I had a really terrific history teacher. But for the most part, in America, you're taught more about the American gold rush than you are taught about slavery. You're taught more about Cortez and the Aztecs than you're taught about slavery. Also, people like to see entertaining movies, and so just the idea of a slavery movie doesn't sound like that would be like something someone would like want to leave the house and go see. Thus, oftentimes it's been relegated to television. I think we cracked that, though.
Die Dame hier vorne in Orange.
Hallo. Entschuldigung, my name is Frauke Gust from Radio Berlin. It's a question for Jamie Foxx. The coolest cowboy I've seen for a very, very long time on screen. I loved it. How was it to meet Franco Nero in the scene, and how often did you shoot that great scene?
It was amazing. Obviously, Quentin, who's well versed on all the spaghetti westerns, and when he told us that Franco Nero was going to do a cameo, everybody was overjoyed. And just seeing him on the set, and the way the women reacted to him, how good looking he was and everything. He still has that great presence, and then just that whole, even his voice. What is your name? Django. Can you spell it? DJANG. I know. And just that moment alone, everybody was just, captivated, and it was blown away to see the history, to see sort of the baton that Quentin is passing from him to my character is just amazing, and that's what a good cinema is all about.
We actually looked at it as like he was giving us benediction. He was passing the torch. He was blessing us. It's a really weird thing. About 6 years ago, I had ridden horses before, but it was just kind of, follow the leader, trail riding and everything, not really good at it. 6 years ago, after I did, it was longer than that, after I did Kill Bill, but Kill Bill was just such a big adventure. I knew I needed to have a little adventure to kind of officially put it in the past, or I would just dine out on that life experience too long. And so I went on a horseback riding safari in Botswana, Africa. And the thing that I did, actually, that the adventure started the month before I went, because I started going, taking really serious horseback riding lessons, like 3 days a week. And so, like, the entire month before I went, I was just learning how to ride a horse. And, started off being kind of scared about the whole thing, and I got fantastic at it. And then I went to Africa, and we were herding zebras, and we were herding wildebeest, and I was always right on the safari leader's ass all the time. Every once in a while, I'd back off to let somebody else take the front position, but it was no problem taking the front position. I loved it. And I thought, oh man, I'm the man. This is great. Well, then I didn't ride a horse for 6 years. And then I tried to ride a horse in the making of this movie, and I sucked. I was nervous again. Whatever I had learned went right out of my head. And I didn't have time to learn it again. So I'm just watching Jamie do all this shit. I'm watching Christoph do all this shit. And I go, there once was a time.
This gentleman right here with the hat and the fur coat.
Buongiorno. I'm Luigi Linguini. I'm a bit scared because I might lose my head. I'm innocent, but as you see, I'm a wanted man. But I'm innocent. So I wanted to make a deal with you. If I pay you gold and let's say 10 euros, which are in the exchange right now $1,000, can I leave this press conference alive?
Yeah.
And the second question, what makes this movie a spaghetti western?
Well, you can't make spaghetti westerns. You can't make a real spaghetti western now. Even an Italian production company shooting in Almeria, Spain, can't make a real spaghetti western now. Like film noir, it was a thing of its time. And it was a moment in time and a moment in history. And, if I was actually really going to try to full on do a spaghetti western in Spain, there'd be a few Americans, but there'd be Spanish people in it and Germans in it, and everything would have been post-sync later. And we would have been shooting it in Almeria as opposed to Louisiana. But it's just the stylistic influences of spaghetti westerns that I liked. But frankly, though, at the same time, that's almost become my way of shooting. Now it just happens to be on a western, but I use the influences, the stylistic influences that of spaghetti westerns and Inglourious Basterds. I used it in both Kill Bill movies. I even used it in Pulp Fiction. That's just kind of my way of shooting. This one just happens to be a western.
We only have time for 2 more questions. First one from the lady right here in the second row.
Hi guys, my name is Josephine Dreves, and I have a question to Quentin Tarantino. Some media discuss that Django has a longer version. If so, do you want to publish that on DVD, Blu-ray, or as a director's cut? What do you think?
Well, I always pride myself that as opposed to DVD, my director's cut plays in 3,000 theaters, as opposed to most other directors. But actually, whenever we talk about the longer version, all the actors pick up because they all think that their best scenes will be in that version. Except possibly Jonah Hill. But the thing is, I think I will eventually do something like that. But when I do that, it'll actually kind of change the story because by not putting things in there, as far as the audience is concerned, they didn't happen, and it creates a different scenario. Well, I like this scenario that I've done. So this is the movie I want it to be. It's going to play this way, and then it'll come out on DVD. It'll be this way. And once it's officially, this is the movie. This is the movie, and you have that, and the world has seen it that way. A little, down the line, I think I will do another version because it could be interesting and fun for people who like the movie. But it won't just be a big, longer version of this movie because it'll be meant to be seen at home. Oh. I think I'll break it down into like episodes of a mini-series. So 4-hour episodes.
Last question from the gentleman over there with the black shirt. Yeah, genau der.
Beulah-Land, remember that? That's
right. Quentin, the music in your films is always amazing, also like now. And can you tell us something about how to make contact to Luis Enrique Bacalov, the composer of the original Django, or Ennio Morricone, of course, and the choice of the music in this film?
Well, choosing the music is always, it's a process that goes on, actually sometimes even just before I start writing, through the writing, through pre-production, through the production, and usually I'm probably sticking a piece of music on the last day of the sound mix at some point or other. but I've been using spaghetti Western music in my movies for a long, long time. Now I'm just actually putting it in an actual Western setting. And I've used Bacalov before, and I've used Morricone before. What was a pleasure doing this is, as many eclectic, random Morricone scores and Bacalov scores that I used in this movie, I also, when it came to Bacalov, I used just a lot of the Django score, not just the theme, but just, I kept going back to that score in particular. And using the exact score for Django, different mood music constantly. And I do the same thing with Morricone's score for the film The Hellbenders, aka El Crule in Germany, that I keep going back to using that to kind of give it more of a cohesive feel. But I think both of those men are they're geniuses and they're cinematic treasures.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause for our guests, Kerry Washington, Jamie Foxx, Quentin Tarantino, Christoph Waltz, Samuel L. Jackson. Thank you very much for being here.
Dankeschön.
Vielen Dank für Ihre Fragen. Einen wunderschönen Tag heute Abend. Viel Spaß bei der Deutschlandpremiere von Django Unchained. Danke Ihnen.